On this episode of Survive and Thrive 8791, we're diving into a powerful and personal story from Katie Valk, who faced an unimaginable loss while she was still in high school. As a junior, Katie's mother passed away, leaving her to navigate grief, resilience, and growing up far too soon. Join us as Katie opens up about how this tragedy shaped her life and journey forward. You won't want to miss this episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What is up? Wherever you are, whatever you happen to be doing, I hope you are having a great day. Welcome to another episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Decora. We are in the Buck and Honey's remote studios in the village of Wanakee, just north of our great capital city, Madison, Wisconsin. You can follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube at Survive and Thrive 8791. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at tdecora8791, as well as hitting me up on Facebook at Tim Decora. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to the show. Leave me a comment if you liked what you heard. If there's a topic or you know a guest who would love to tell their story, email me at tdecora@gmail.com. Glad you could join us today wherever you happen to be. Our mission is to share stories and conversations that make you cry, laugh, and think, stimulating emotions, creating laughter, and inspiring the mind. A new episode will be released on Monday and Thursday morning featuring a wide range of guests. The podcast will touch on many subjects such as grief, loss of a loved one, recovery, professional setback, divorce, success despite challenges, etc. Our guests will share how they learn to survive and thrive. Okay, we're going to get into the episode and guest intro. According to the internet, and the internet is always correct, Katie, right? And the American Heart Association, the Go Red webpage states that cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of women, causing 1 in 3 deaths each year. It's a third of our mothers, sisters, friends, neighbors, coworkers, and more. On today's episode, we will hear firsthand how that affected someone I had the privilege to work with and get to know. Today, I welcome Katie Valk, one of my favorite students of all time, to the Buck and Honey's remote studios. Katie is a 2023 graduate of Wanakee Community School District, again, just outside Madison, Wisconsin. She was involved in many activities as a student at Wanakee High School. She excelled in the classroom, on the basketball court, and the softball field. Taking charges, whether it was taking charges for the basketball team or playing catcher for the softball team, she is one tough gal. Currently, she is in her second year at the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh, where she is in the kinesiology program. She also plays club volleyball. I am so glad you could join us today, even on your winter break. Katie Valk, what is up?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, this is so cool that we get to have you on, and you're going to hear me mention these words. We talked off air a little bit about this being winter break and kind of all the stuff that you're doing. We have a Packer game, and some of you can see that I'm in my Packer garb today. But do you have a game day ritual at all for Packer games?
I don't, because usually I'm at work during the Packer games. Like today, I have a 7-hour shift at Noodles and Company.
So yeah, we're going to talk about how busy you are. How were the holidays? Speaking of busy, how were the holidays?
It was good. It was good to see like all my friends and family after a long semester.
After a long semester, I remember those days in college, sort of, because I played college basketball. I remember all my friends being extremely bored because the break was so long. Do you get? You don't get bored because you're working all the time, right?
I only work a couple shifts a week, so I am starting to get a little bored, especially when my friends start to go back to college because I have a longer break than most. I don't go back till like February 3rd.
Oh boy.
So I'm here for a while.
For a long time.
Yeah.
I know UW-Oshkosh, University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh is in the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. Used to be the WSUC back in my day. But they used to have that winter room. I know there was a lot of even Platteville people that lived in that area that would take a winter room class to get a little bit ahead. Have you ever done that, or do you know other students that take that winter room class or course then?
Yeah, I know a girl that is actually in London right now for her J term is what we call it, January
Oh, J term, okay.
And so she's in London studying abroad this winter for a couple weeks.
And then and when February 3rd rolls around, they are all back for school?
Yeah.
Okay. And Santa Claus was good to you this year? You were good? What was your top gift this year?
I think my favorite gift that I got was probably a popcorn popper.
Ooh.
Because that's like my favorite snack. And I don't hate, but I like making it air popped because it's just a little better for you.
Yeah.
And it's just a snack with not many calories. So
Now, is that going to be street legal for the dorms? If it's
I
not,
don't
I won't
know.
say anything.
I don't know if it is or not, but
Yeah, air popped popcorn. I love that, but I immediately cancel out all the healthy stuff when I put about a good stick of butter on there.
we were able to find like an avocado oil spray. So I use that on there, and then I also put salt on it.
Awesome. So for those of you that are out there that are popcorn fans, you might want to hit Katie up. Maybe you can run some recipes out there. You have 2 jobs, one at school. Yeah, you already talked about noodles a little bit. Let's have you talk about your job at school.
Yeah, I work at the University Books and More on campus, and they're actually in the process of getting outsourced.
Okay.
So I know there was a petition going around to sign it to hopefully not close it. But yeah, so I don't know. I think I won't have a job like next year.
Okay.
But I think then I'm just going to start an internship.
Yeah.
Try to.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, the nice thing about UW or Oshkosh is it's kind of like a small city. So there's a lot of different opportunities. And I know most universities you go to, there's a pretty strong alumni program that people that have businesses that graduated from Oshkosh like to help out other Oshkosh people. That's got to be going good for you. We're going to talk about our sponsor. Buck and Honey's Restaurants is a place that people can escape to from any problems that they have with their great food and drink menu, 5-star customer service, and a welcoming and vibrant atmosphere. People keep coming back with locations in Sun Prairie, Monona, Wanakee, Mount Horeb. Most communities in the Dane County area can get to a Buck and Honey's within 10 to 15 minutes. Have you been to Buck and Honey's before?
I have, yeah. We actually just ordered to go a couple weeks ago.
Ordered to go, and what are your go-to items when you go there?
I get the jambalaya, or I get the buffalo chicken salad.
Jambalaya. That's a reference to Seinfeld, but yeah, I love jambalaya. My favorite is the firecracker shrimp, and I talked off air again about the pizza that I've been eating since about 1984 or 85, the Bomber's Special. I talk about that because it's awesome. All right, on segment 1, and those of you that are listeners to the podcast, you know that when somebody comes on to share their story, we share it in the recovery format where we talk about what was life like, what happened, and then what is it like now. And we're going to discuss that with Katie, but we're going to set that up with her story a little bit. Prior to Katie Valk's junior year of high school, on Tuesday, August 24, 2021, Jenny Valk would pass away from a cardiac attack or heart attack, leaving behind Jim and her 3 children, Katie, Ethan, and Ashlyn. What was already a tight-knit family would bring them even closer and create an amazing bond. And I've been able to watch that from Facebook, like a lot of people, where I just see you guys doing all kinds of cool stuff on Facebook, despite what happened. Your mom was awesome. I remember her always willing to work the scorer's table at basketball games. I was an official. Maybe she decided to work there because she didn't want to scream and yell at the officials, but she was always willing to work the book. So friendly and always willing to volunteer. Now, some of this information came from some information I found out about her on the internet. She was a creative and skilled graphic designer, often using her talents to help her church and other nonprofit organizations. Your mom was so outgoing and personable, she had a wide circle of friends and thrived on the many special relationships she had. All that being said, tell us what your mom was like with the family behind the curtain. You got the Wizard of Oz, and then there's somebody behind the curtain. What was she like behind the curtain? Was she awesome? Was she exactly like this explains?
Yeah, she was. Although she was like a graphic designer, she was that like part-time. And then she was a stay-at-home mom the other half-time.
And yeah, she was probably played all those roles. Was there anything that maybe wasn't the best about having a stay-at-home mom? Or was it good that you could call and she was like a short order cook? Hey mom, I'm coming home for lunch. Can you make me a hot ham and cheese?
Yeah, that was nice, is like being in high school or being in middle school and just being able to be like, hey mom, like, can you bring my lunch? Like, I forgot it, or I forgot my jersey for practice, or I forgot stuff like that. It was nice.
I was going to say, I think I do remember that happening on occasion where I'd see you running out to the running out the front door. And I'm like, Katie, where are you going? Oh, I forgot my uniform, or I forgot my lunch, or whatever. And your mom's bringing it around. So yeah, that great built-in short order cook, and then somebody who could run your stuff to you. We'll come back to some of those other things. You being the big sister, you're the oldest of the three of you. What is your relationship like with your little brother Ethan and little sister Ashlyn? What's that like? What's that been like?
I definitely have, I love having little siblings. Like, I love that they come to me for anything and everything. And I think now with Ethan in high school, going off to college this fall, I think he's really turned to me to like help, like for me to help him with like college stuff. Is if he doesn't know like what to do, he'll be like, oh, Katie, like, do you know how to do this? And then my little sister will like come to me about high school advice, because she's a freshman this year. So she is new to the whole high school thing, which she likes a lot more than middle school.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I liken it to you almost playing the role of your mom a little bit. Now, yeah, you got past the torch a little bit quicker than maybe you wanted to, but that's got to make you feel really awesome that your brother and your sister just come to you, and that gives you that little added layer of, it sounds like you take that role in. I know over break, saw you at the very beginning of break where you were at one of Ashlyn's games. So that was really cool to see you. So you're embracing that role.
Yeah.
As the little mom, sort of.
Yeah.
Big sister, little mom. So let's talk about your dad. What's Jim like? I refer to him as Jim, but you're going to refer him to another.
I like to call him Jimmy sometimes. That's what me and my siblings call him.
Jimmy. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about Jim.
He's great. I love that he's like always there for us through anything. I know that once my mom passed, he kind of took over that role on Facebook to like post, which I think he actually posts more than my mom would have, which I think is funny. But he just he does it just to keep our family, like our extended family, updated and our friends updated. But yeah, I just love that I know that I can call him for anything, because I don't have an older sibling to go to, so he's the one that I go to. So yeah, he's will always answer the phone if I'm at college. So.
All right. Well, I was going to say, hopefully you don't bash any men that post on Facebook more than their wife, because good old Coach Decora posts way more than Mrs. Decora. I'm glad you like that about your dad. Yes, I do know that through all of the thick and thin stuff, I'm not one of the first to comment on what you guys do, but it's so awesome to see, and you're going to talk about that as being one of your coping skills, is to do a lot of family time and with one another. And yeah, that is so good to see. But I love seeing that part on Facebook. What will you take from the relationship your mom and dad role modeled for you when you go off and maybe at some point in your older life you'll get married and have a family of your own? Because I think you've had some great role models in your mom and dad. What are you going to take from that?
I take from that they were just always there for each other. They would put like one another first, and just the volunteer experience that they would have is like they would always volunteer for church every single Sunday, and whether that was like just one service or both services, and then they would like stay later to help tear down the church because I go to Northridge Church that is currently based in the Village Center. They are in the process of building a building right now that's like out by Culver's. But so yeah, that was really a nice thing to see from them. Is just like all the volunteer experience.
All right, now I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Have you started to do any of that volunteering as well?
I've done some volunteering at when I'm at school. We do get like paid for it, but it's like my volleyball club that gets paid for it. At least they used to. But I would like, just not me personally, but I try to volunteer for every single NCAA volleyball game, and I work the libero tracking score sheet. So, or just anything really for the NCAA volleyball team at Oshkosh.
So you are doing some volunteer work, and yeah, albeit you're getting paid, but maybe that whatever incentive it takes to get you to start doing a few more things, and I think it's a good distraction, maybe from some of the other things which we'll talk about in a little bit. So on August 24, 2021, you're about to begin your junior year of high school, and we kind of set this up a little bit. But how did that day begin for you?
Well, I woke up I would have had to been like 7:30 in the morning, and I had a hair appointment later that day to get highlights for the first time, because my hair is just like naturally blonde. But I wanted some more highlights just for the heck of it. I wanted to try it out. So I had a hair appointment for later that day, and I went into my parents' room to find my mom still sleeping, because I was going to ask her if I needed to wash my hair before the appointment, because I had my appointment after work. And so I went, but she was still sleeping, so I didn't want to wake her up. And then I went to work at the Westbridge pool.
The neighborhood pool.
Yeah. And I sent her a text so that when she like woke up, she would like, she could answer it. But a couple hours went by and I still hadn't like gotten text back from her,
and that's probably not the norm.
Yeah. No, it was like, I mean, she was sleeping, so
Okay.
I just like didn't expect her to answer right away. But then I did. But then, yeah, I just went about my work day at...
Screaming and yelling, blowing the whistle at the pool.
I was a pool monitor, so I just checked families into
you
the
did?
pool. Yeah.
First name basis with everybody in the neighborhood.
Sort of.
The moms that come on and show up at
Yeah.
the pool. You are working, checking people in at the pool, and then you get the call from your brother Ethan that you need to come home. Mom's not waking up. So this is what we discussed a little bit before. And because you have a job and you're probably role modeled that you still, in tough situations, you still get the job done, and then you go about what you need to do. So paint the picture there for us.
Yeah, so I got the call from my brother that I just needed to come home because Mom wasn't waking up. He didn't really give me any more details. I kept asking, like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean she's not waking up? He's like, you just need to come home. Dad just said you have to come home. And I said, okay. So I did everything that I could that was, like, quick that I could to leave the pool because there's not much that you have to do. But I just had to, there's, like, a code that has a key in it that you had to punch in the code to, like, lock the door to, like, the chemicals and stuff.
Sure.
But that takes a little bit, so I just called my friend I just called Ashley Jensen, who lived in that neighborhood, and I called her and told her that I needed to leave, that my mom wasn't waking up and she needed to go lock the pool for me.
Because friends do that for friends.
Yeah, because there was also families in the pool area too, so I didn't want any little kids to get into the chemical room or whatever.
No.
So yeah, I just left, and I remember it was raining. It was like pouring out. I'm getting soaked as I'm running to my car, and I get in and I drive home, and I'm on the road and I'm behind the slowest person. I think they're going 5 under the speed limit.
Doesn't that always happen?
Yeah. And so I consider honking. My hand is like on the horn or whatever. I never pushed it because something in me just like told me not to.
Okay.
Yeah, so I finally was able to turn onto my street when I passed by the ambulance with no sirens.
As they were like coming away.
Leaving my neighborhood,
Okay.
yeah. And that's kind of like when I knew something was really wrong, because I was 16, I was at the age where I knew that no lights, no sirens meant that like either one, that they were able to wake her up, or two, that she was gone. And I kind of like knew, my stomach kind of like sank, but I was like still trying to be hopeful. And then I turned onto my street and there's like 3 police cars there. And not far behind me was Ashley's parents.
Okay.
Who had pulled up that like 2 seconds after I pulled into the driveway. They run out of the car and run inside. And my dad's like talking to the police officers. And I run inside, and my sister actually had a sleepover that day with her, one of her, like her best friend was over there too. And they're, I think, 11 at the time. So they're like crying and they don't know like what to do. So I just like hug both of them. And my brother's crying, and so I hug him too. And I'm like, it's okay. Everything's going to be all right. Like, I got you guys. Like, it's okay.
Playing that, you're playing that role of that transfer of power was taking place, whether maybe you knew it or not, that you didn't quite know, but you suspected that mom didn't wake up for the unfortunate reason that she may have passed away. But now you automatically took the baton handed from your mom to you, and you started to comfort your younger brother, your little sister, and then you went from maybe wanting to shed your own tears, but you maybe didn't because you were taking care of them, and there was a built-in distraction already that you had to be a little bit stronger for them. So then after that, were you able to talk to your dad then?
Yeah, he came inside from talking to the police officers, and he told us all to like sit down. And then that's when he told us that mom's gone, like she's not coming back. And I was 16, so I understood. My sister and her friend were 11, so they understood, but they were just kind of like, they didn't really know what to do. And my brother was 14, so he's still at that like age where I think he was going to be a freshman in high school.
Yeah, I think about it, and who really knows what to do?
Right.
But that's the reason that once I started this little show, this podcast, where we start having people share their stories. I don't have a story to share like that. We talked about our mom passes away at 47, and that we had something in common. My mom passed away at 46. I wasn't there. I did get the call. I know what that's like. I can sympathize with that. But I was 28, and you were 16, and your brother was 13, 12, somewhere, and your sister was 11. I don't remember getting those kinds of calls at that age. But this is where you're here today to speak to people that have had that happen, and to show people that this can happen to somebody at 16, and 4 years later, they can be thriving and going to college and taking care of their siblings and being there for. You talked about your dad being there for you all the time. I imagine you're there for your dad all the time as well, in case that, whenever he text messages you or calls you, you're picking up the phone pretty darn quick, unless you're checking out a customer at the store,
Right.
or you're in class, that you can call. And that's why I wanted you here, because you're such a strong young woman, emotionally, physically. I think you're matured beyond your years because you needed to do that. And also, I think the fact that you're going to be playing a little bit of a give back to whoever is listening to the podcast, and say, here's what I went through, and here are the things that helped me get through it, and I want to help you as well. I think that's noble of you. Today, you're about to start the spring semester of your second year of college with a tremendous amount of support. You are well on your way to thriving, and we'll hear about that going into the second segment of Survive and Thrive 8791, where you're going to talk about kind of those first days, weeks, months, and now we're looking at about 3 3.5 years of when that occurred. You're going to share with us how you've been able to thrive. Buck and Honey's has been with the Survive and Thrive 8791 since episode 1. With 4 locations in the Madison area, one is always near, very much like your mom was always near. Buck and Honey's gives back to the communities that they serve with a great food menu, 5-star customer service, and a welcoming atmosphere. One is always close by. In segment 2, you are going to talk us through how you got through the loss of your amazing mom and share what life was like and what it's like now for Katie Valk. So those of you that are listening, stay tuned. Don't change that dial because you don't want to miss segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. We will be back.
If you, a loved one, or someone you know is experiencing a physical, mental, or emotional crisis, there is help and resources out there. Contact NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness Helpline, at 1-800-950-6264. This is a free service providing information, resource referrals, and support to people living with a mental illness, their family, providers, and the public. United Way 211 is available 24/7, 365 and offers free confidential assistance. They connect people with the local programs and services that can help. Dial 211. Emergency Crisis Services, dial 911. The Suicide Prevention Lifeline, dial 988. To connect via web, chat visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Along with those numbers, there is help. You just need to say 3 words. I need help. Now, back to the show.
We are back. Welcome back to segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Tim DeCora. The podcast is where I feature guests who share their stories in hopes of helping others who may be struggling with what life throws at them. In August of 2021, Katie Valk and her family were headed in some days, weeks, and months in a direction of uncertainty, asking questions. With the help of family, friends, and a community behind her and her family, time started to ease some of the pain from the loss of her mother. Today, she is a strong young woman, daughter, sister, friend, and a guest on Survive and Thrive 8791. And I said she's a former student, player, etc. And I'm now darn glad to call you a friend, Katie. Tell us about kind of that. You already talked us through the initial hours, minutes afterward, but then after the dust started to settle and reality set in, what were kind of your thoughts?
I remember just like the days and weeks after that is I couldn't, because my bedroom is like right next to my parents' bedroom.
Okay.
And because she did like pass away while she was sleeping, she was in her bedroom, and I couldn't sleep upstairs for, I want to say like a few weeks to a month. After. I was sleeping on the couch like downstairs, which wasn't always the comfortable, like most comfortable, but I just couldn't, I don't know if it was just like I couldn't bring myself to walk past her room because I would still have to go into my room to get dressed and whatever. But I think the main thing for me was that I didn't know, like this might be kind of silly, but I kind of thought that if I slept upstairs that I would pass away almost. I don't know if that makes sense, but
when it comes to reaction to something like that, what occurred, there's nothing wrong with anything. Really, it's a coping skill that you had to use was to go down and sleep on the couch. And maybe there was something that it might cross your mind and there's nothing wrong with it. But now you know that you've slept up in your room now, that it was just something that popped into your mind that if I sleep up there, could something happen to me? But part of the maturity process is that you get through that time and you got through it. So you're already using a coping skill that involved you sleeping somewhere else until you were able to get through that. And eventually, after a couple of weeks, you were able to go back up to your room. And
yeah.
Okay. Who came kind of to the house in the next day, those next couple of days? Who was it that came? Family, friends?
Yeah, there was a lot of like my extended family, and then it was because this happened just like it. I think it was just like a week before school was about to start, and so through those days before school started, my best friend Ashley would stay at the house with me so that I wasn't by myself. But
Yeah, hopefully she's on the Christmas card list now
yeah.
for doing all of that good stuff for you. What was it like to see and hear about the support you received from all of the people that came to offer a helping hand? I'm going to guess that they had a meal calendar and people were coming,
Yeah.
dropping off meals and Facebook posts and text messages and phone calls. Tell us how, that had to be warm the heart.
Yeah, it was really nice. I think that we just were so involved in the community that there were so many people that knew us, whether it was they talked to us twice, whether they hadn't talked to us at all and they just knew us. But I think, I don't remember exactly because it was like almost 4 years ago now, but I think we had like meals lined up for 6-7 months every single day of people
Really?
bringing us stuff, whether that was like people bringing 3 meals or like whatever. Like we got meals at least 3 times a week, I would say. For like
Probably
6
had to
months.
invest in a brand new freezer.
Yeah.
So what was you already kind of alluded to the state of mind, couldn't go up and sleep in your room for a few weeks, maybe a couple months. What was your general state of mind like then?
I was definitely a little depressed and a little confused, I guess I would say, and angry. I just like didn't understand like what me and my family did to deserve that. I didn't know like if there's like why she deserved that. I didn't understand. I was just really confused, and so I would just use distractions so that I wouldn't think about it really. And I still do that like on the anniversaries of her passing or her birthday or like Mother's Day, like just those, even just like Christmas, like the holidays. I just like use those distractions to like, I don't know, not think about it, because you'll always think about it as just like, why me? And you never think that it's going to be you until it does.
Are your emotions much different now that they're 19, 20-year-old emotions versus 16, 17-year-old
Yeah.
emotions now?
Yeah, I would say so. I think I just understand a little bit more, not understand like why she passed, I guess. Like I understand like physically why, like because of her heart and the blockage in her arteries and everything. Because now that I have taken and passed human anatomy to be an athletic trainer, that was something, we had a cardiac like section or whatever in
Okay.
anatomy, and so that was like really interesting to me to like look at and try to understand it a little bit more. Yeah, I just like look back at those days now. I just understand a little bit more for other people's actions from my own actions.
And it's helped make what happened a little easier to take if there's something that needs to make it easier. Your knowledge and years of growth and maturity have made it a little more easier to digest. And I even still wonder myself why, that my mom had to pass away at 46, and how come and why. And as I got older, I started to understand how come and why, and now I celebrate her on those days because I wanna do that for my mom, and it helps part of that coping process for me. And for me, I know that my mom's in a better place right now than maybe when she was here. You're not the only person to have something like that, like this happen to. However, I think it's very unique that it does. And we don't hear, as a former teacher here at the high school, it has happened where parents pass away and we have students that are in school, but it's not as though it happens all the time. But the reason you're here today is to give a family, a spouse, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, something that they can share with a loved one or a neighbor or a coworker who might have had the same thing happen to them, where I could have, and I still will maybe have your dad come on, Jim, come on, just to talk about from the spouse standpoint of when you lose a wife or a spouse that you've been married to for a long time and raised some kids. But I wanted to hear from somebody who experienced it as a high schooler, because you're going to help high schoolers all across the country and the world where they pick up this podcast, and they're going to turn to your episode and say, these are some suggestions that this girl had that got her through, and now look at, she's a athletic trainer for the University of Wisconsin Badgers, and she's on the sidelines. But as a 16-year-old, she went through a very rough patch that nobody should go through. But you came out in the end, because I got faith in you, Katie. Here are some suggestions, and I asked her, pose these questions. What are your 5 suggestions to thrive for someone who experiences something like the loss of a parent? And 16 is a young age, So I'm gonna rattle these off, and I'm going to pitch them in underhand softball, and you're going to go ahead and whack them out over the fence. Here's the first one. So here's what you shared. Here's what you're going to share with us today. Look to close friends and family for support. And I will say, let's hit those in about 2 minutes or less.
I look to close friends and family, and they just all knew that, like, they were just all there for me, no matter what time of the day it was or night. And it just, like, helped to know too that a lot of my close friends, they were also like grieving the loss of a friend and a best friend or whatever it happened to be. So like they also like understood a little bit, because it's kind of hard to talk to people that don't really understand.
Well, I'm sure you're like me. When I was in high school, I have a lot of friends that I'd go to their house, and their moms played kind of a role model or a role as being a mom for me and teaching me some things. And I'm sure your mom was that way with a lot of your friends.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the close ones that would come over a lot. So you relied on friends and family for support. You talked about this earlier, but you said find distractions to take you away. What were some of those? Give me a quick list of some of those distractions that you said your friends would take you away from that first couple of days, weeks, months.
I remember the main thing we would go to is Vitens in Madison. We would go there a lot, especially during that week of it being summer. And because I didn't play volleyball my junior year, I had pretty much that whole first part of the semester freed up to do whatever. And my friend Ashley didn't play volleyball either that year. So we just kind of like would do stuff together after school, whether that was like going to get ice cream or going to get lunch on the weekends or whatever it was. And my boyfriend was on the football team, Wanakee football team. So me and Ashley would get ready, do all the football games together. We would ride together. It was just kind of a fun thing that we would do. It's just hang out.
We're going to go back to Vitens. Were you whacking around the golf ball, or are you smacking around a softball, or playing putt-putt or mini golf? So yeah, Vitens is a place where people in Madison can go to do all of those. Used to have trampolines you could jump on, water cannons. What was your favorite thing to do at Vitens?
We would do the golfing range, like I don't know what that's called.
Grab a club and start hitting away and just clobber the. I love that part of Vitens. Maybe Vitens will sneak in with some little promo dollars. One thing you also said was set boundaries, and you said this from the other side of the coin. The first side of the coin would be set some boundaries, put them in place so that people know what you want during this whole days, weeks after your mom passed away. But you said you didn't set boundaries and you wish you would have. What were those? What did you want to set as your boundaries?
I would say that I just kind of, like, it was really nice having people come over and sat by for an hour or two and like just like be there for me. But it was also, there were some, not just like family and friends, but like there's like, I can't pinpoint exactly what people, because it was so long ago, but just like saying like, hey, I kind of just want my family to be at home right now, because there was a lot of like people that would come, stay for a couple days at a time. I would just kind of be in my room a lot of the time because I just wanted, like it was almost like, I don't know how to explain it, but I didn't want people to like forget her, but I just kind of wanted people to forget that it happened, if that makes sense. I didn't love all the attention that I had on the entire community, where everyone was like kind of tiptoeing around me and my family, and just kind of like, I don't know, just, I didn't love that everyone was like feeling bad for us. I don't know how to explain it.
So as you're talking and I'm listening, and some people on the podcast are probably thinking, it sounds like Katie is a private person, even though she's got all these friends. You wanted to also maybe protect your privacy a little bit. And then also knowing who you are, you're a confident, you are and were back then a very confident young lady, but you had a little bit of introvertedness to you where you're okay to talk to everybody, but you also had that time where it might not be you, the person who's starting the conversation, but you're going to be actively involved, but you're also very good at just being there and not being involved. And to me, it sounds like you said it. You liked the attention, but there was also that privacy that you needed to have and that you weren't getting that. Am I right on that? Mm-hmm. It gets better, but it still hurts. And I just referenced that a little bit. Let's hear it from you. When you wrote that down, what were you thinking?
Because there are, like, not a day goes by where I don't think about her, but there are, like, because obviously when it first happened, like, I was thinking about her all day, every day. Whereas, like, now it's just kind of a thing where if I see something and I'm like, oh, my mom would have liked to have that. But I don't immediately burst into tears like I used to. Mm-hmm. Or it's just kind of something where I'm able to talk about her like I am now, or talk to my like new friends at Oshkosh about her and not end in crying. I can just share like happy memory. Yeah. And stuff like that.
Talking to your UW Oshkosh friends that may not know what had happened. Hey, what's your mom's name? And then you have to share. It's probably gotten easier to say, yeah, my mom passed away when I was a junior in high school. That probably had to be a little bit tough in the beginning.
I just wouldn't bring it up unless either they asked or it was relevant to the conversation. So I guess like if they were to say like, hey, what's your mom's name? I would just be like, Jenny. And just like kind of go about it, especially if I wasn't really close with them yet. Mm-hmm. I kind of like, I don't know, I kind of like get closer with them before I tell them just because. And I don't want to make them feel bad, but I just like want them to know that if I never talk about her, it's not because, or if I don't, because I say all the time like, oh, my dad does this for me, my dad does that for me. I never say like my parents. Mm-hmm. And so I just don't want them to think that she's just not a part of my life, or it's just not like that something happened or whatever.
Yeah. But. Well, I can speak from that, and I don't know if this will help you or any of the listeners that are on right now, but I used to try to keep that quiet. I didn't want to tell anybody what happened because of the circumstances behind her death. She was an alcoholic, and she died of alcohol-related complications, probably some anxiety and depression, and I never wanted to talk about that. I wanted to keep that a deep, dark secret. But as it just rolled off my tongue really easy with you here and listeners listening, that it also gives me an opportunity it doesn't bother me when I say that anymore. And it also gives me an opportunity to celebrate her, that she was awesome. I'm here and alive today at 56 years old with my own set of things that I talk about and share on the podcast, but it gives me an opportunity to celebrate her. She's the reason why I'm still here. And so she must have did a very, very good to great job. And she was awesome. I could have probably spent a little more time with her in the end, but she truly was she was a single mom for a long time and did some really, really cool things. Yes, it definitely for me, like for you, has gotten better, but still a little bit of sting. Live in the moment. So I'm going to read this because you wrote this. With people you surround yourself, take lots of photos and videos. Life is too short to be mad, angry, or scared. Make the most of it. And something that my dad, your dad, said to you once has stuck with you for all of these years, and that is, money comes back, memories don't. And this is my favorite part. Spend that extra money, go out to dinner once a week, spend the extra money to hang out with friends, spend the extra money to go on spring break once in a while. You need those memories. You'll never regret having them. I mean, that was awesome. And I'm definitely going to use that. And hopefully people will take that and say, yeah, that's awesome. So talk a little bit more about that. I know that's, you all wrapped it up right there.
Yeah, I kind of, because I mean, there are everyone grows up differently and grows up with a different amount of money. We were never the family to just give me money to go get ice cream with my friends, or give me money to go out to eat with my friends, especially when I got into high school and started driving and getting my own car. That was I would use my money that I earned working, because I started working I think at the age of 15 at the Westbridge pool, and so we would use our own money for everything, whether that was birthday money, Christmas money, money we earned working, or money we would get from pulling the weeds once a month, or just kind of stuff like that. But then after my mom passed, I had realized more that my dad was just kind of giving us money to go and do things, keeping us distracted with here's $20 to go to buy tents with your friends kind of thing. But just kind of it got to a point where he wasn't even asking us if we needed money, just kind of giving it to us, saying here, go do this, go do that. Go get lunch, go do whatever. And it's still kind of that way where, if we need money, obviously, he's there and, we'll give it to us. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have that growing up. And now that I have that now, because we all, he knows, I know that, obviously money is going to come back, but the memories you have making with your friends, family, they won't. So I guess that's kind of where I got it.
And you're creating memories with that money that, yeah, you got it. You could save it for a rainy day, or you could save it for something else. But if it adds to today, we can pay for the roof later. We'll take some of that roof money or the yard money and go and make a memory today. We can fill that money back in later. Right. I think it's a shift that maybe your dad got it from somewhere, or he read it in a book, or maybe he always believed in that. Yeah. But I think it's great advice, and I know I'm going to use it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I extend it to. At college now, is college students don't have a lot of money. So if my friends, when I first started making friends at Oshkosh, I would kind of say, they would be oh, do you want to go get McDonald's or whatever it happened to be, or do you want to go shopping, whatever? I would always say no, because I didn't have the money for it. But just because you don't have the money for it doesn't mean you can't go and do it also. It doesn't mean you can't go with them. And I kind of extend that to when I'm there and saying well, I get paid next week. I'll go with. And maybe I'll get ice cream or something. Just kind of that thing where even though I don't have a lot of money right now, I still try to make it work and hang out with my friends as much as possible, because you never know if they're going to be a bridesmaid in your wedding someday, or going to be at your wedding. And you don't know unless you make that time.
That's such a unique perspective, because when I was in college and going to school, that would occur. Hey, we're going to go get pizza. Let's go. And well, I don't have any money, so I'm not going to go. Yeah, you can go. I mean, we wouldn't say that, but you're saying that, hey, you can still go without having to participate and still have the fun that you can have that. even though you might not be actively participating from the financial standpoint. What an episode. As I mentioned before, your story is so inspiring. It really is, from what happened to where you are and where your family is today. It is so inspiring. You're inspiring. Your story will help countless people, whether they're like you who go through something like this, or a spouse or a family member, friend, acquaintance, those people that are watching from far that you don't think are, that are concerned about you. Your strength to share publicly with the Survive and Thrive 8791 crew is an inspiration. And now you're going to be helping others. So our call to action. Katie Valk just shared an experience that our listeners can learn from. These 5 things can help you or someone you know survive and thrive, just like Katie did through the unimaginable loss of a mother at an early age. Her call to action suggestions were: look to close friends and family for support, find distractions to take you away from those things that are causing you some grief, set some boundaries. You talked about you didn't, but you would have now. And then it gets better, but still hurts. And maybe try celebrating that loved one that you lost, and then live in the moment and maybe take that little extra money and go and create some memories, which we get to see on Facebook when your dad posts that stuff. As we close with yet another episode, great episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. Are there any final thoughts, Katie?
I do just want to say thank you to all my friends and family. I know I probably didn't say it like in the moment. Everyone who helped me through those tough first few like months and weeks and days, especially my now boyfriend Jacob, my best friend Ashley, and Ashley's parents, Kyle and Dave. Also my boyfriend's parents, because they really were very welcoming if I ever needed to just get away and go to their house too. Nicole and Jason, thank you. Also my pastor and his wife, Brent and Laura, they were always there for us. We're always there praying for us. And
Pastor and Ashley and your boyfriend, grab some Kleenex. Hopefully you're grabbing some Kleenex right now. We're throwing each other a little bit of a lifeline, and you've made it this far, Katie, without shedding any tears. You know you wanted it earlier, and now you're going to be having me reach for the Kleenex. Any other final thoughts? I think you got almost everybody. Probably your dad.
yeah,
Your dad.
my dad especially.
Your dad especially, and Ethan and Ashlyn. I know what you're saying today is going to continue to help them. And I hope that we also take a look at this episode as celebrating your mom, because I also wanted to talk about what an impact she had on my life, even though I didn't see her every day or every weekend. But when I did, she made me feel special, and by the things that she would say to me and talk. And then certainly for you coming on the episode today to share what you needed to share. And I hope this is a time where you can just take a deep breath and say, okay, I got through that, and I'm glad we could talk about it, and I'm glad you could talk about it, and now you're going to help other folks. On our next episode, we will have another amazing guest who will share how they survived and thrived. If you have a story to share, or you know someone who does, please reach out to me at tdecora@gmail.com. Until next time, hang in there with whatever you happen to be going through, and with hard work, dedication, and determination, you can survive and thrive as well. Until next time, take care.